Now I would like to welcome our guest of honor first. So let me share the screen. Uh, so Mr. Dhruva Trivedi is a renowned corporate trainer and industry expert. Sir has 45 plus years of experience in working experience of 15 plus years and consultancy of 32 plus years. Sir has done MA in PM and LW from prestigious Tata Institute of Social Sciences. Sir is a sociology honors graduate from Hindu College, University of Delhi. Sir has been involved in organizational capacity at various organizations, SJK Corporation Limited, MP State Textile Corporation, Automobile Products of India, Electro Steel Castings Limited, Sandane International Corporation, where he was also head of HR and communications. He was also joint director of industries at MP State Textile Corporation. Sir has also been throughout associated with academia and has been conducting sessions and interacting with various B schools and including the IAMT Ghaziabad, JIMS Delhi, IILM Delhi, College of Business Studies, University of Delhi, IIPM Delhi, DPC Institute of Management, Modi Apollo International Institute at International University, USA, Skyline Business School, School of SW Social Work, I think, in Aurangabad. And Sir has also 1 year experience in setting up a B school and running it as a center head. Sir has also consultancy and training experience with several renowned companies, including Ashok Leyland, AT&T Limited, Airtel, Chambal Fertilizers and Chemicals, Coca-Cola, DLF Industries, Electrolux, Golden Peacock, Honda, JK Dairy and Foods, and Oriental and Suzlon and TCS and Tata Energy Research Institute, Vavolin Communications, HCL, Visa Bank, and among many others. And Sir is also business head at Percon and training facilitator, certified trainer for team scorecard and team centered leadership. As you would have participants, as you would have already figured out, Sir's primary areas of interest are organizational behavior, organizational development, human resources, communication, international relations, and industrial psychology. So, sir, we are glad to have you with us. Welcome once again, and we would now like to hear from you. Over to you, sir.
Thank you, Anna. Thank you very much. Thank you, Dr. Agarwal, for inviting me over to this forum. Thank you, Dr. Lata, and all the organizers of this forum, organizers of this platform. And of course, a lot of thanks to the participants who are going to patiently listen to what I have to say. This is in advance that I have my submission to the participants. I hope you will be able to hear me patiently. Since the topic is all about innovation in management, education, and research, my intention of communicating further is more towards going a little backwards rather than going forward in terms of identifying what conceptual research we need to do, what new techniques we need to discover in management, etc., etc. So when I say backward, I humbly request all the faculty members and all the teachers who are teaching management that while they are teaching, they should also be mentoring each student. Now, when I say mentoring each student, it takes you to understand what fundamentals the students have. I unfortunately, or fortunately, you can say, I had a lot of opportunity of interacting with students in various colleges, management schools, and especially when I used to visit the B grade and C grade management schools, which is not the A grade management school that we usually refer to, like the XLRI or the IIMs, I usually found that the students were lacking in the fundamentals. So, taking the cue from what Dr. Agarwal just said, that it has to be an interdisciplinary approach. Management is nothing but approaching normal work with a scientific mind and a rational mind through an interdisciplinary approach. And this interdisciplinary approach means you have to have knowledge of history, you have to have knowledge of geography, you have to have knowledge of, you know, like archaeology and everything that is possible under the sun. I'm reminded of Balgangadhar Tilak, who wrote this book called The Arctic Home of the Vedas. He has chosen, most of you probably know who have read the book, would know that he has chosen a very different technique of writing history. Most of the historians always go by whatever they have discovered through facts or their own research. But Tilak had the ability of approaching history through an interdisciplinary method. And that was, he had to delve into archaeology, he had to delve into geology, he had to delve into even astronomy to discover the real facts in history. So I'm just making that reference to make everyone understand that when we are talking about management, as very rightly quoted by Dr. Agarwal, that it has to be an interdisciplinary approach. Now, going back to what I was mentioning, that is, in my interactions when I discovered that a lot of children, a lot of students were missing on the fundamentals, I started doing my research. And when I started researching, I went to schools, I went to villages, I went to um, all the places all over the country. And wherever these students came from, I wanted to understand what the hinterland was like, where they came from. And believe me or not, that the school education, which is there up to, till the third standard or the fourth standard, probably each child goes through the primary discipline of school education or formal education. But thereafter, the period from the fourth standard to the eighth standard before he gets into the senior school or the pre-senior school, there's a lot of time available to the teachers, and that is where I think the teachers are confining themselves to the pedagogy that prescribes that you should go into the prescribed syllabus. So they do a lot of justice to the syllabus, maybe not. I do not know about that. That is not the debate I'm getting into. But what I'm trying to say is that many of these teachers do not get into anything beyond the syllabus. Now, since we are addressing a forum which is talking about the Teacher Learning Center, TLC, and we are also talking about management, innovation, and research, I think it is a very, very significant uh, you know, um, point that we should look into, and we should see how this kind of education, the education which happens between the fourth standard and the pre-senior school, can be improved. My personal research, which I found, was that my discoveries were that these uh, students or the teachers in these categories from fourth standard to the pre-senior school, they lack the bandwidth. the bandwidth which is required to give them the kind of education, give the students the kind of education that is required. I'm very glad that Dr. Agarwal mentioned about the history of education in India. And we've lost all that, very unfortunately, because of the British interventions and the foreign interventions. We've lost all that, but we are trying to recover. I'm glad that we are trying to recover now, whatever has been lost. But at the same time, my humble submission to all the teachers is that they should delve into the interdisciplinary approach in a very big way. So what I mean by saying that is that the bandwidth at the moment is confined to the terms of the pedagogy or the syllabus that is prescribed. If you are a passionate teacher, you would definitely go beyond the syllabus, and you would try to understand what each fact would relate to. Say, for example, when you're teaching physics and you're talking about Charles' law, Boyle's law, Faraday's law, and many of these laws that is prescribed to be taught, the students are learning all that. Great. But amazingly, none of the teachers, I'm sure, very few, maybe just a handful, you can just count them. Just a handful would be actually talking about Dr. Stephen Hawking. Now, when teaching physics, if you're not telling the students who's the greatest physicist on earth today, unfortunately, Dr. Hawkins is no more. But in the last few years, he was there. And I think none of the students, if you ask a student, he wouldn't know who Dr. Stephen Hawking is, a physics student. So this is just to give you an example. Likewise, in every subject, there are a lot of things that a student needs to know related to his subject, which goes beyond what is prescribed in the syllabus. So if the teacher, my submission once again is, if the teacher is passionate, if the teacher is really doing a lot of research or wants to do a lot of research to evolve the management education, he must also understand from what hinterland, what background the students are coming from. And therefore, in this perspective, I think a lot of plenty of mentoring needs to be done. So each teacher who's communicating with the students needs to be a mentor. So when you become a mentor, when you are actually going beyond the subject, beyond the topic that is being discussed, and anything related to those topics are also covered so that the background is well known. So my very simple understanding is I have worked on that project. I have submitted that project to the ministry also. Let's see how it works out. But I have submitted, this is a project which is called Pedagogue to Pathfinder. So pedagogue is a guy, is a person who is stuck to the pedagogy. He's stuck to the syllabus and nothing beyond the syllabus. And Pathfinder is one who actually shows the way. So that is the topic of my project, and I'm trying to push it through the government circles also. Let's see how it works out, because if it is included, we have now a new education policy also. The new policy should be covering this also. But I do not know how it can be tweaked. This is something which we have to discover. But primarily, I think one very, very important point that I need to communicate to all the teachers here, all the faculty members here, that you need to talk about, you need to feel the passion. Not only talk about it, but you need to feel the passion when you're teaching. You need to increase the knowledge, the skills, change the attitude also. So it is not only increasing the knowledge, but if possible, as you know, very well stated by our Prime Minister, he's emphasized a lot on the skilling aspect. Not all of us may be very well versed in improving the skills, but at least we can guide them to the right people. We can tell them as to how these skills can be improved. So we are talking about the knowledge, improvement of the knowledge, improvement of the skills, and also building the right kind of attitude. Most of our problems, whether in the corporate world, whether in public behavior, whether in politics, or more, whether in, in any kind of forum, you'll find that the problems emanate from the improper attitude, improper approach. So I think a lot of work has to be done in attitudinal transformation. And that can be done only through constant mentoring. I'm also a part of the ATL, the the Atal mission for mentoring in the country. I'm part of that team also. But I'm mentoring the mentors there. So my humble submission, and a repeated one, is that each of us trainer, each of us teachers, each of us who's in the faculty needs to not only have the passion, but also have the passion to become a mentor. So, and when one becomes a mentor, the whole approach changes. You have a mission in front of you. You have to ensure that the student who you are addressing is actually transformed. So, unfortunately, as I mentioned earlier in the beginning of what I was talking about, is that the hinterland does not give them that support. The fundamentals of the students who are being addressed by the faculty is actually missing, because their teachers are lacking the bandwidth that is required. Then each teacher has to increase his bandwidth. The knowledge should not be limited to a confined section. It should go beyond the subject. It should go to things which are related to the topic we are talking about. So that is my take on the program today, and I hope, my sincere and a very honest hope is that since I'm also advanced in age, let me confess that I'm not a young man. So, but I'm quite advanced in age, and I think I have done what I could, and I am still trying to do what I can for the education system in the country. But if each one of you takes that lead in transforming, in becoming a mentor, I think you'll do it, give an immense advantage to the whole nation. It is not only to management education, but you will provide that, change, that transformation that is required by the nation. I think that's my submission. Thank you very much, Dr. Sumit, uh, Professor Madhuvij, and Dr. Lata Arnab. I, with these words, I think I need to end my whatever I have to say. Thank you.
Thank you very much, sir. Thank you.